Hello, everyone, and welcome to All Things Politics. Let's get right to it. The U.S. versus Iran war seems to be imminent. This in the news lately comes as a result of failed negotiations regarding Iran's nuclear ambitions. Um, as of February 2026, the U.S. and Iran tensions are at a critical breaking point, with President Trump considering military strikes due to stalled nuclear negotiations and Iran's defiance on enrichment. Following a direct U.S. strike on Iran's nuclear sites back in June of 2025 and the subsequent Iranian retaliation, the U.S. has deployed carrier strike groups in the region. Uh, as to whether or not this is all going to take place or is happening because of diplomatic efforts by Israel has yet to be seen or spoken on. Chances are Israel probably is and does have a stake in this, wanting to see the United States strike Iran for any number of reasons. But here we are, and this seems to be something that will take place in the coming days. And I mean days, maybe next 24 to 48 hours. That being said, just based on the latest escalation details this year, 2026, failed diplomacy is part of the reason why they are no longer at the bargaining table or negotiating table, despite indirect talks in Geneva. Both sides remain far apart on nuclear enrichment and missile capabilities. So already there's something in terms of what the U.S. is demanding has been added to the negotiations. Initially, it was Iran's nuclear ambitions, wanting to enrich uranium for societal uses or maybe even weapon grades, uranium weapon grade warheads. So now we have the issue of missiles on the agenda. This, by all accounts, is something Iran is not willing to negotiate on, their missile capabilities. The military buildup in terms of the U.S., it has deployed the U.S. Abraham Lincoln and USS Gerald R. Ford carrier strike groups to the Gulf region, signaling preparation for potential action rather than just deterrence. The nuclear standoff, President Trump has threatened direct action unless Iran alters or halts its nuclear enrichment and support for regional proxies. Iran, in response, has declared it is fully prepared for renewed conflict. That's not a good sign. The risk of a regional war, experts warn that a strike could trigger a major conflict. Surprisingly, that did not occur back in 2025. However, the potential for this escalating or getting out of control is more imminent now. And also, this major conflict could impact global oil markets and forcing the U.S. to directly target Iranian infrastructure. Is Israel the cause? That's a question I like to know, and I'm pretty sure others would as well. Israel is a major, though not exclusive, driver of this escalation. The shadow war escalation, if you will, throughout 2024 and 2025, Israel took an aggressive, non-calibrated approach, including bombing the Iranian consulate in Syria, assassinating key leaders in Beirut and Tehran, and carrying out cyber attacks on Hezbollah. Direct conflict intertwining. In June of 2025, the U.S. joined Israel in Operation Midnight Hammer. That was the incident that took place in June 2025, and that attack was directed towards Iranian nuclear sites. But marketing the first time that a U.S. president openly joined an Israeli strike on Iran. Netanyahu's pressure. It is said that Israel's prime minister Minister Netanyahu has heavily pressed the U.S. to act against Iran's nuclear program, calling it a last resort effort to prevent Iran from obtaining weapons. My take on that is this. What's the big deal? The U.S., other Western countries and Western powers have them. Israel has them. I think South Africa has them. Pakistan, India, they have them. North Korea has them. China has them, so on and so forth. And for those countries who do possess nuclear weapons, it seems to me they have what we would call, in certain circles, an equalizer. So that in that, whoever has them, they're more reluctant to use them. And it brings individuals to the negotiating tables to work out whatever differences they may have. I don't think just based on the narratives and things are being said, the propaganda in regards to Iran having a nuclear weapon, that they would just up one day and say, hey, let's strike somebody with this nuclear warhead. I don't think that's the real understanding or objective of the Iranian government, but I do think that they realize it is an equalizer. All right, that being said, I want to bring in a clip by Savvy Sabs, one of my favorites, and we appreciate, the courtesy of being able to use this clip to further impart to the people this informative and educational incident that is brewing, that can very well take place in the next few days. Let's jump in here with this clip and let's see what information other than what I've given you can be added to this content.
Guys, we have breaking news coming through. Donald Trump has announced that war with Iran is now imminent. The announcement came pretty late Wednesday evening. Now, this comes after the U.S. government and Iran were having talks or trying to make some type of a negotiation. But I think we all knew in the end that it would lead to this. They are now saying, and by they, I mean the Trump administration, that the U.S. could strike Iran as soon as Saturday. This is not a game. This is not a joke. Donald Trump and his administration are pushing us closer and closer towards World War III. And it's all done, of course, on the behalf of Israel.
Now, allow me to jump in here. That being said, yeah, there is a lot behind the scenes taking place that the American people aren't privy to. Who is pushing this conflict? Who is pushing this conflict? Donald Trump, in his own words, while campaigning for his second term, said that or professed that he would not be a president that would enact or involve the country or bring the country to war with other, sovereign nations. Iran is a sovereign nation. Iran has just as much right as any other nation, not just in the world, but in that region, to defend itself or to speak out against certain things that they see to be or consider to be wrong, in contrast or contrary to human rights and things of that nature. So Donald Trump, is he being led? Is he being pressured or pushed by the Israeli lobbyist or lobby of Benjamin Netanyahu and that whole operation? At this juncture, I don't think that matters because it seems that war will take place. And Iran is threatening that if this should happen, it's going to escalate. It's going to spread to other regions. And this is why Sabi is saying, hey, this could very well lead to World War III. And that's the last thing, not just the American people need, but people of the world need, understanding that the world is in disarray, that a lot is going on in the world, whereas people who need or people who depend on governments to look out for them in a time of need are finding that these governments are not stepping up to the plate and doing the thing or taking care of the people's business. We have here in the United States so many issues to deal with other than worried about being at war with another country over missiles or over nuclear capability, or application for that matter. To want to have uranium, process or enrich uranium does not mean that that would be used to create warheads. It could mean that, but that on the face of it, it should not be that. I think it only is because of the conflict, the hatred between those in the Middle East, the hatred they have for those in the Middle East, Israel and the rest of the Arab region. In the United States, we have issues that have not been addressed for years. We, as a country, the country, especially those in government, sends astronomical amounts of money to individuals who don't need the money, who has an economy, a GPD, and generate lots of money for their country, does not need money, nor does it need military hardware, something else the United States caters to that individual or those individuals in that region. This is a bad look for the world, but mostly for the United States. Again, the United States has its issues. Our own yard is not being kept. It is in disarray. The people, I'm pretty sure, would rather have the government look after its people, the people who elected them to these offices or these seats of power, rather than waste their time or spend the taxpayers' money on war efforts. That's just my take on it. And by the way, this is All Things Politics. Please like, share, comment, especially on this topic right here, and subscribe. Your viewership and participation with this channel means a great deal, and it will enable us to further continue to dispense and give to the people informative as well as educational knowledge or an outlook and understanding on what's happening in our world. Back to this clip.
The genocidal apartheid state. Now let's go back a little bit here, just in case you missed the segment on Tuesday night, where I talked about the fact that the US government was sending more Navy ships towards Iran. During that time, again, there were supposed to be more talks about negotiation, but Donald Trump has made it very clear.
Navan, the #1 rated business travel platform, lets your team book work travel in one place, flights, hotels,
that they're headed towards war. Let's go back to when they were having those talks. Here's a clip here from CNN.
Talking about what Iran's foreign minister said there, that they have agreed just between the US and Iran on guiding principles for talks. More work needs to be done. This, of course, does not mean that a deal is imminent. A deal is not going to be reached quickly, in his words, but he did describe the talks as much more serious than a previous round and certainly positive. What can we glean from that, Fred?
Well, it certainly seems the two sides are at least going to keep talking still, and that is definitely something that's quite important, especially as over the past couple of days we have seen that military buildup in the greater Middle East. Of course, those choice words coming from the Iranians and also from U.S. President Donald Trump as far as a possible military confrontation is concerned. So it seems as though, at least for now, diplomacy is still moving forward and is still being given a chance. One of the interesting things about all this, Zain, is that we have heard, as you mentioned, from Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister, saying they are mapping out a path forward to at least try and draft something together. We haven't heard from the U.S. side yet, and that certainly is no surprise, really, because Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, the two main negotiators for the United States, are already in the building that you see behind me, the Intercontinental Hotel here in Geneva, and they are at those trilateral talks to try and solve the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. So they certainly are taking on the most difficult conflicts in the world. And right now, of course, Iran certainly does seem to be one of the more pressing ones. And you are absolutely right. As all this is going on, the military buildup there continues. You also mentioned those military exercises by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in the Strait of Hormuz. there were also some pretty strong words from Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, directed at the Americans. Here's what he said.
Pause here for just a second. So first of all, they keep using this word diplomacy, and I want to be very clear about this. It is not diplomacy to threaten another country and to tell them, if you don't do this, we are going to attack you.
Now, and on the heels of that, I'd like to say as well, there seems to be a push by the West, the Western powers at least, towards instilling or incorporating a new world order policy that puts the West at the helm of everything. It's the West way or no way at all. The United States, with Donald Trump at the lead, is saying it's our way or the highway. And one way or another, we're going to get what we want. What is it that the United States and the West wants from others, non-Westerners? That question, I'm pretty sure many of us can answer just readily. But it seems, in spite of any cooperation from other nations who seem to be under the microscope of the West and the United States in particular, regardless of the cooperation, United States, the government and its policies tend to run roughshod in spite of cooperation over these states, bullying other countries, other sovereign nations, and looking, or we're just blatantly saying, we need your resources. We need you to not do anything we don't like you doing. You know, again, they're setting demands and actually creating new precedents in terms of geopolitics in the world order. This is something the people, not just here in the United States, but the world over, needs to really pay attention to. War is coming, and it's not for the reasons we're being told.
That's not diplomacy. That's bullying, and that is a direct threat. So I hate that they use that word as if they're doing something peaceful here. They're not doing something peaceful. You guys got to understand, this is not just about nuclear weapons. This is also about the fact that Israel sees Iran as a threat.
Sure.
Netanyahu said so himself in front of Congress, that Iran is the curse, that Iran is disrupting this type of trade that they want to build across that area.
And not only what Israel wants in that region, Iran is, again, what she said it, but I'll say it, you know, to a further extent. Iran is the thorn in Israel's side. Iran is sort of like the big brother in the area, one of the oldest nations in that area, who monitors and speaks out against these things, or the things Israel is known for doing in the region and have been doing in the region for a very long time. Iran's presence prevents Israel from expanding, and not just in that area of what Israel calls its home, or, you know, its rightful home, not just in the Gaza or the West Bank, but other areas. Syria could also be a target for Israel in terms of placement, where they want to be, land they want to occupy. Make no mistake about it, Israel has been described as, or it is alleged that they are an apartheid state or country, that they practice apartheid, discrimination, persecution, things of this, you know, of that nature. So Iran's presence there sort of curtails their activities and their aggression, their expansion aggression, to be more exact. This is the work of those, you know, in the Israeli government who want to expand, who want to be the king or the leader, you know, the big dog, the bully in that region. Only because Iran is there, they're not able to pull this off. And so they need the United States' help to help them get a grip further into the region's soil.
That Iran also is the country that has backed the resistance. So that's what this is really about. Just a couple of weeks ago, they were saying they were going to attack Iran because of the protests. And then that kind of went by the wayside. Now they're going back to the fact that they want to attack Iran because they're saying that Iran is trying to build a nuclear weapon. By the way, I've heard that my whole life, that Iran is building a nuclear weapon. This is very, very, very unfavorable by the American people. The majority of Americans, according to recent polls, show do not want the U.S. to go to war with Iran. That includes even Republicans. So this is a bipartisan thing where people are moving away from these wars. The other issue that I want to bring up as well, the regime in Iran, which many people have voiced frustrations about Iran's regime. They really do want regime change in Iran, but not because they care about the Iranian people. They want regime change in Iran because they want a leader that is there that is going to bend the knee to the United States government and to Israel. That's what this is about. They have done this to other countries, and they've toppled their leaders as well because they want them to bend the knee.
And also, just to add to that, the recent so-called uprising that occurred in Iran a few weeks back, those protests and things, that nature, it is believed, it is alleged that Mossad and the CIA created that whole occurrence, that they spurred that to take place through meddling and intervening in what in the Iranian government's authority, sovereignty in terms of how they run their country. Again, I agree with Sabi in that Israel and the United States, they need someone in that area who will kowtow to them, who will come and bow at their every beck and call, who will allow Israel to do the things Israel has plans to do for that whole region, not just the state of Israel. All right. So there's a lot at stake here, and there's a lot going on that the American people, the people worldwide, do not understand in terms of politics and hegemony. These people want to run the world, period, point blank.
I have been sounding the alarm that Zionism is spreading in the world, right? Like, we have our views here in the United States, and majority of Americans have moved away from supporting Israel. But we are just a small piece of the world, right? The West is very small. People have to understand that. Zionism is spreading in South America. This is also, Venezuela has to do with this as well. They want to spread Zionism there. You know that Maria made it very clear. Maria, who I guess thought that she would be installed as the leader of Venezuela when the U.S. kidnapped Maduro, made it very clear that she wants to work alongside Israel. They are trying to spread this Zionist project. And
just so that it's known, South America is just, the tip of the iceberg in terms of where Zionism wants to be, as well as where American authority and might wants to be controlled. They are making attempts, serious attempts, and headway into the continent of Africa. If it was not for certain states or countries on the continent of Africa, Israel and the United States, as well as other Western powers, would be running that place to the ground. The people would continue to suffer, all for the prosperity and wealth of other people from other places. Israel, the Zionist state Israel, is trying to get into Africa as we speak. United States corporations, NGOs, CIA, all these organizations and agencies are hard at work at penetrating into the interior of Africa from the inside and work its way out, want to run the whole thing, because we all know, or it should be understood and known, that Africa holds any resource the world may need in order to function, especially these Western countries who create all these products based upon resources that they don't have. They have to go through Africa and other countries, Venezuela, South America, in places like that, to gather or to gain to get these resources to build the machine they need or they think they need to run the world. Simple as that.
Globally, and they want Iran to bend the knee as well. So that's really what this comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's hear what the Supreme Leader here had to say.
Every story starts with an idea, but how you build it changes everything.
It seems to them that the US president keeps saying this: the US army is the strongest army in the world. The strongest army in the world may sometimes get slapped so hard that it cannot stand up straight. They keep saying we've sent an aircraft carrier towards Iran. Very well. An aircraft carrier is certainly a dangerous piece of equipment. But more dangerous than the carrier is the weapon that can send that carrier towards the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, I wanted you guys to hear that, because the reality is that this is not a game. This is not Iraq.
Right.
This isn't Libya. Iran is huge. Iran is very powerful. And Donald Trump is willing to sacrifice American soldiers in order to bend the knee to Israel. That's ultimately what you have to admit here. That's what he is willing to do. So the Supreme Leader of Iran is not afraid of this type of confrontation. Now, obviously, if they do strike Iran, which again, Donald Trump is saying that they're going to do so as soon as Saturday, then that means obviously they're going to go after him. They're going to try to take him out. And I'm just thinking about all the civilians that will be hurt because of this. If you're watching this show, you're probably anti-war, you're tired of the damn wars, or you're getting in that direction. And I think a lot of us have been sounding the alarm about this for a long time. We also have to remember, this isn't just about attacking Iran. Iran does have friends. It may not be buddy-buddy with the US or with Israel, but it does have a relationship with Russia.
And this relationship that Iran has, not just with Russia, but with other countries of the world, and what a lot of Westerners call the evil axis of the world, these nations that get together and work together for the benefit of their countries and their people. Iran has Russia, true enough. North Korea, true enough. And other states that carry weight, you know, that think in terms of unity on a scale or in such a way that there's not one person or one country, one power running everything. These countries are more than willing to work with those who want to take over the world. They're saying, hey, wait a minute, you know, at some point you're going to have to respect the sovereignty of nations, man, that don't see things the way you do. Again, this will escalate. This will escalate. And our hope here at All Things Politics is that clearer minds, you know, those minds that really work in terms of how the world benefits from the actions we take, will step in and find a way to dissolve this matter. To get one thing needs to be done and addressed more than anything else. These individuals who have the wherewithal, hopefully they have enough balls to get it to the point where Israel is extracted from how America carries itself, that where Israel does not command or demand when, where, and how America goes to war, or how it looks at other countries, because Israel isn't favored or don't see those countries as favorable. This is, I think, a very tense moment. That said, this is All Things Politics. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We're going to get a few more minutes of this, and we're going to cut it short.
North Korea has also made a statement that they're willing to help Iran. China has made a statement that they are paying very close attention to what happens in Iran. These are powerful countries. Russia has a powerful military. China has a powerful military. North Korea has a powerful military. So ultimately, attacking Iran, going into a full-scale war, could lead to World War III. And many, like myself, have been sounding the alarm about that for a long time. And that is not something that will be pleasant. We will lose a lot of people. So they did go ahead and make that announcement on Wednesday evening. Again, I do feel like every time more information is released from the Epstein files, Donald Trump is trying to ramp up chaos somewhere else to get you to look in a different direction.
And on that note, we appreciate Savvy Sabs. We thank her for the use of her content. But yeah, I've been saying it. This channel has been saying for weeks now that the Trump administration, Donald Trump in particular, have been trying to figure out ways to divert the American people's attention from what's in the Epstein files. We also assert that the Epstein files is just the tip of the iceberg. There are files inside the Epstein files that Donald Trump and those who prop him up do not want the American people or the world to know about. That being said, we again appreciate the use of that clip from Savvy Sabs. Thank you. She's very, very well informed with the content she drops, and this is why we appreciate her. The American people need to wake up. The American people need to wake up. There is so much going on that we are not aware of. And as a result, our ignorance is going to be, is our folly. We have to inform ourselves. We have to become more knowledgeable and educated in terms of what our government is doing. If we do not, we will suffer as a result of the incompetence and megalomaniacal, the homicidal mindsets of a lot of people in power. We need to hurry and wake up and get control of this country. Otherwise, we'll suffer. We will suffer. That being said, this is All Things Politics. Take care of yourselves and each other, people.